I'm telling y'all, they always hide the truth in plain sight. Take a look at the Super Bowl commercial.
Can we be a secret society if we can't keep all of our secrets?
Do they know we faked the moon landing?
No, not yet.
Or that there are only 49 shades of gray?
They're suspicious, but that's not what I'm talking about.
What about Bigfoot?
Bigfoot's not real and everyone knows that.
Did they figure out we deflated the football?
No, we found a fall guy for that one.
Bigfoot's definitely real.
Nope.
What about Area 51? Do they know about that?
No.
How about Area 52 to 54?
No, stop saying areas. No areas plus a number.
Literally hundreds of photos of Bigfoot.
Okay. Point is, someone is leaking this stuff.
Why are you looking at me?
Do you know is that avocados from Mexico have good fats?
So they know they're healthy.
They know everything. Kyle, are you streaming this?
Is that not cool?
No, it's not cool.
At least they don't know about subliminal advertising.
That's not even a thing, right?
Avocados from Mexico.
Well, first of all, I just want to say, why would Avocados from Mexico, a company that sells avocados, make an ad like this? That does not make any sense. This has nothing to do with avocados until the end.
So not just this ad, but apart from this, they are portraying all of this on the mainstream and they're turning it into a satire comedy type. So whoever questions them looks like a total moron.
This eclipse has a crossing pattern to it. And there's a place connected with Egypt. There are places that have names that are connected to ancient names in biblical history. And the big thing that everybody's talking about is it crosses over the New Madrid fault line. Now, the last time something of this nature happened that was noted was in the 1800s when 3 months later, the New Madrid fault line gave way and there was a major earthquake. You could hear bells ringing all the way to Boston by what happened at New Madrid. The mountains in Cleveland, Tennessee, some of them were formed at the time of the New Madrid fault line when it gave way in the 1800s. I found that out recently. Now, John Kilpatrick, a great man of God, and several other men for years have had dreams or visions of the New Madrid fault line giving way. Now, you can study the New Madrid fault line and you can see the great danger to areas like St. Louis, Memphis, Tennessee. In fact, if it actually went off with a very, very high Richter scale earthquake, and it would have to be a 7.5, 8, 8.5, but if that happened, the danger to the United States would be that the railroad bridges connecting part of the West with the East Coast are cut off. The bridges for trucks to deliver food are cut off. And, you know, of course, your major airports, the runways would so there would be a complete shutting off, a split between the central and western part of the United States and the East Coast of the United States. And the food supply would be diminished within probably, I would say within a few hours, because everybody would panic in trying to get food in the stores.
So there will be an eclipse right in the start of April. But what's interesting is that it occurs every few hundred years. And what more interesting is, there are few prophecies related to this eclipse. And there's gonna be sacrifice of red cows, which is gonna be carried out by Jews.
Morbid Facts, Part 225. When he was a college sophomore in 1990, actor John Hamm was involved in a severe hazing incident at the University of Texas. When one of his fraternity's pledges failed to recite something he was supposed to memorize, Hamm allegedly shoved the man's face into dirt and set his pants on fire. He then reportedly beat the pledge with a paddle so hard that he suffered nerve damage to his ribs, a fractured spine, and almost ended up losing a kidney. Lastly, the man was brought upstairs to a secluded room, where Hamm hooked the claw of a hammer underneath his testicles and pulled him around the room for at least a minute. The incident was so serious that the pledge transferred schools and filed a lawsuit that ended up permanently shutting down the fraternity. Hamm made a plea deal and completed his probation, allowing him to avoid being convicted of any crime. The charges were eventually dismissed, and Hamm doesn't like to talk about the incident but describes it as a bummer of a thing that happened.
Oh, a bummer of a thing.
Did you guys see what's happening tonight? Yeah, the Jewish sacrifice of the red heifer. The same sacrifice that only 9 throughout history have done. And according to Jewish lore, the 10th is supposed to bring in the Messiah. For those of you who don't know what the red heifer is, I'll let you know. Remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. The red heifer is a female red cow that was offered as a sin offering. Apparently, this is supposed to be signifying the third temple being built as well. But there are theories that it has already been built. Here's the thing though. We know that Jesus was the final red heifer. He died for our sins. He died to save us. So tonight, if the Jews are going to sacrifice a red heifer because they still don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah, my question to you is, who do you think that they're really sacrificing to? Because it's not Jesus, it's a different Messiah, the dark Messiah. I think that tonight they're going to try to sacrifice to the Antichrist. Now, don't get me all mixed up as an anti-Semite, because I love Israel. It will always be God's chosen land, and I will always stand with that. However, I am not stupid. I know that if you deny Christ, you deny God. And unfortunately, Israel has been corrupted through King Solomon's teachings in the Talmud and their biblical history of always turning away from God and running to false idols. I don't hate the Jews and never will. They are lost and need Jesus more than ever.
I mean, if you already don't know, you can Google red heifer. But what she didn't get right is, this isn't gonna happen tonight. This is gonna take place on the eclipse.
These are the Simpsons predictions for 2024. Welcome back, Charlie here. From the exact equation of the God particle, to smartwatches, submarine implosions, and even Disney buying Fox. The Simpsons has made so many uncanny predictions which have already come true. But the Simpsons predictions for 2024 are insane. The Simpsons' first prediction is that Trump will win the 2024 election. On November 15th, 2022, Trump announced that he would run again for president in 2024. When this happened, the writer of The Simpsons, Al Jean, took to Twitter, pointing out that The Simpsons predicted this back in 2015. During one episode where the Simpsons family go into the future, Homer can be seen floating by a sign, and on that sign says Trump 2024. This episode aired before Trump was ever president. The Simpsons already predicted Trump becoming president once.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump,
Which has led many to say they may be correct again. An even wilder Simpsons prediction is virtual reality food. The Simpsons already predicted virtual reality gaming back in 1998. In the episode titled Friends and Family, Homer and Marge can be seen eating virtual fudge through a straw on their VR headsets. You may think this could never happen in real life, but recently this technology has been invented in real life. A company named Aero Banquets RMX has made VR food. It allows you to eat various foods, and uses VR to change your taste perception, reframing the human mind and changing how we experience food. This is a very new technology that may take off in years to come. Another scary 2024 prediction is an AI takeover. Many experts have been sounding the alarm about AI taking people's jobs. In recent years, AI taking people's jobs has become a real concern. But The Simpsons predicted this all the way back in 2012, with the episode titled Them Robot. In the episode, Homer loses his job. That's because Mr. Burns replaces all of the power plant's employees with robots. In the episode, Mr. Burns even says humans will train these robots.
You will train them, and they will replace you.
Before the robots go on to take the humans' jobs, which is exactly how AI works in real life. Robots are already working as waiters in Japan. It's also believed that taxi drivers will soon be replaced by self-driving cars, and ChatGPT will replace jobs, for example, coders, paralegals, financial advisors, stock traders, graphic designers, accountants, copywriters, proofreaders, and even translators. And of course, all of ChatGPT's training was done by humans.
Oh, I'm so waiting for the virtual eating. Like finally, I can eat all of the desserts I ever wanted. From all around the world.
You guys are not about to believe what I'm going to tell you. Images confirm that Ice Spice is not real and is actually a failed clone of Joe Biden. Some reports say that the reason why they kept Ice Spice alive instead of terminating the clone is because the government can make money off of Ice Spice. The reason why they did this was because Joe Biden wasn't in good shape to be president. After he fell down the stairs, people were saying he was unfit to be president because he was too old. Here are some pictures that were leaked that show the failed clone of Joe Biden. Now, the reason why the clone now looks like this is because the government decided, hey, instead of making this a Joe Biden clone since we failed, we can use Ice Spice. We can use this failed clone as something to keep society looking in another direction. We can use this as a distraction. And that is how Ice Spice became to be Ice Spice. The government, or should I say the Illuminati. If you would like to stay woke, follow me for more.
Wait, what? What did I actually watch?
He warned us in 1997, y'all, how it was gonna end. Come on, boy. Your ass going down, did he? He flying to that island. He gone. He warned us in 1997 how it was gonna go down. Look. Get your ass on, boy.
That's not a warning. That's literally the story of every rap music video.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a prime example of why the education system is failing in this country. Now, I'm all for a good conspiracy, but there comes a line where it's just you look like a jackass and it could actually be some truth and facts to the conspiracy that you're talking about. And this whole Baltimore Key Bridge situation is exploiting that a lot of y'all don't know what the fuck y'all be talking about. Y'all just want to sound like y'all got y'all third eye open. Nigga, y'all need naps. Y'all need Tempur-Pedic and memory foam pillows, and y'all need to go take some naps because y'all too motherfucking woke. And this is coming from a person who talks about stuff all the fucking time. But conspiracies only sound logical when there's paper trails, when there's facts, where there's whispers, so to say. This bridge, like there's, y'all talking about they covering up. This is the government. Shawty is a prime example, right? I'm gonna leave her text. Y'all go watch the dumbass video. Cause she was in my comments on my video talking about like, because people were saying, well, how could a bridge just collapse like that? There was explosives on the bridge and there was explosives on the boat, and you know, bridges just don't collapse from cargo ships. And I explained how all of that is just not right. If there was explosions on the bridge, then you would have saw it was pitch black out there. Unless they got invisible alien explosions now, you would have saw something. The smoke was from the engines trying to start back up from the now if someone wanted to say there was a cyber attack on it, I guess. But even all of that, why would the ship crash into a bridge when there's nothing but construction workers on there? Why would they mayday to the control towers so that people could clear the bridge? Terrorist attacks normally want to take people out, so why would they do it in the middle of the day when people are on the fucking bridge? I think the ship was just a piece of shit. There, some reports are saying that the ship hasn't had proper maintenance in a long time. It did crash into a wall back in 2016. Crew members have been complaining about the ship's conditions and stuff like that. The bridge itself is old as fuck. Who's to say they were doing proper goddamn maintenance on the bridge? So stuff like that, okay. But shit like what y'all saying, she was like, oh, y'all, this an election year, y'all. They just trying to distract us, y'all. Like, what? So I challenge it. Like I always say, tell them to elaborate, and then they start sounding dumb. Because I said, so you also did not explain significance of your election year theory. Why? What's the significance of a collapsing bridge that blocks trade on the entire East Coast? Who does that benefit? At the end of the day, if I knew I could make a real difference by digging into the story and investigate, then I would, but I just don't want y'all to know I don't believe everything I see. I don't have the deep meaning because my interest stops here. But for me to automatically believe that this is a coincidence is foolhardy. Y'all be wanting to sound so fucking smart, y'all sound dumb. Mind you, in the video, she states she ain't never been nowhere close to a ship. Guess who has? I have. I also state I've been on several for leisure and for deployments. You haven't. That's the end of the conversation. She was like, well, I also haven't been on cockpit of a plane, but I know autopilot exists. Dumb. She the type of chick that can't admit when she wrong. Shawty should really just stick to making thirst traps and shaking ass on her TikTok, because that's clearly. The ship not being properly maintenance and taken care of because the company was too cheap is way more believable. But then it was a terrorist attack, or it's an election year. Why do they need some big catastrophic event for an election year when there's two people that are gonna be in office, potentially in office, that nobody even wants? They gonna win by default. Them two old motherfuckers gonna win by default. What distraction? What event do they need to win an election? Biden's incompetence is all Trump needed. As a person who's been on the Navy vessels, I can tell you right now, there are world-class ships. Those motherfuckers are pieces of shit. And they break down all the fucking time. And those are military goddamn ships. So I can only imagine a cargo ship. We were dead at sea for like 2 weeks when I was on deployment. And you get like emergency electricity. You don't get no air. The toilets don't work. Like the plumbing stops, all of that. So they had to like sail people out middle of the ocean to help us emergency fix the boat so we can get to the Dubai, to the port in Dubai, so they could do emergency maintenance. And we was in Dubai for like 2 weeks or a week and a half, 2 weeks, because the ship was so fucking raggedy. And this is a LHD, Kearsarge, which is still in the yards right now. My homegirl daughter is currently on the WASP, and that bitch can't get out the yard. It's supposed to go on a workup and get ready for deployment, and they can't get it out the yards because it keeps losing power at sea. But again, people like her wouldn't know that because she ain't even never been on the ship. But she know a cockpit got autopilot. So what are we talking about? Just stick to posting thirst traps and shaking ass, because clearly that's your talent.
Brother got a point. The truth has to be bigger than your ego. Okay, what I mean by that? At one point, I might believe something to be true. Then, later in the future, it might not be true, after knowing all the facts. So instead of taking it on my ego and thinking I can't be wrong ever, the best thing would be to admit I was wrong there. Now I have to admit this is the right fact. It has to work this way. Or otherwise, the truth will remain hidden because you're constantly admitting in your mind that you can't be wrong.
In light of P. Diddy's imminent downfall, I wanted to bring attention to a man who tried to tell us the truth about Sean Combs almost 3 decades ago. Chuck Phillips was an extremely talented and Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter for the Los Angeles Times who started covering the music industry in the beginning of the 1990s. He did a lot of reporting on the corruption inside the entertainment industry, and he gained huge notoriety for being one of the only reporters at a mainstream national publication to do in-depth reporting on the hip-hop music scene, especially on the West Coast in the early 90s during a time of huge social unrest and uprisings during the Rodney King beating, and giving these artists a platform to really tell their community's stories. This was at a time where artists like Ice-T were writing songs called Cop Killer and really speaking to the divides in race and class and the over-policing that was happening on the West Coast LA scene at the time. It came as no surprise that Chuck was one of the reporters who started diving deeply into who killed Tupac Shakur and unearthing a vast conspiracy that involved Sean P. Diddy Combs and his associates in this murder. Chuck has always asserted that P. Diddy was involved in the murder of Tupac. Back in 2008, he wrote a story where he was passed FBI documents that ended up being forged. And after much scrutiny by the editors and the lawyers from the LA Times, they ended up having Chuck run the story anyway, even after the fact that Chuck told them that he did not think that they should use these documents. The Times ended up retracting the Tupac Shakur story that Chuck wrote, and they completely threw him under the bus and laid him off after the story was retracted, and the LA Times was sued and issued a settlement to P. Diddy's associates that were named in the story. After this happened to Chuck, his career was blackballed. He applied for hundreds of jobs in the journalism industry and was repeatedly rejected. The LA Times never issued an apology to Chuck. He had so many friends and editors privately telling him that they knew that he was a man of integrity and that he was wronged by the publication, but no one ever spoke publicly coming out in support of Chuck. Chuck always asserted that he was in the right when he was reporting on Tupac Shakur and P. Diddy and Notorious B.I.G. He was defending himself the entire decade after this happened. And sadly, Chuck passed away this year at only 72 years old. And I believe that Chuck would be here to this day if he was able to continue with his investigative reporting career, because it wasn't just a career to him, it was what he loved to do. And you could tell it in his writing. It was what he was born to do. The LA Times did write a beautiful obituary after Chuck's death this year, but they have yet to apologize for the pain that they caused this man and this man's family, and Chuck really deserved better than this. He wrote a piece for the Village Voice back in 2012. That's a great read, so please check it out. And I wanted everybody to know who Chuck Phillips was and that he will never be forgotten. He made a huge mark on the music industry, and he really just deserved better than this.
If I'm being honest, I knew all along Diddy had it coming. So Biggie and Pac, two of the GOATs, the legends of the hip-hop industry, they were all good, they were friends, they were collaborating, everything. But suddenly, they had their conflicts, differences, and there was one guy behind all of this, Diddy. So Tupac actually had Suge Knight as his right hand, and Biggie had Diddy as his right hand. Biggie treated Diddy like a brother. So no one knew about Diddy. It was all thanks to Biggie that he came in the spotlight. So the one interesting fact is, he was behind the murder of Tupac, and it is speculated that he is behind the murder of Biggie as well. And just to be clear, these are my opinions, you can do your own research. But being a fan of hip hop, I knew this from the beginning. And alright guys, we have came to an end. If you enjoyed this video, just be sure please, to hit the like button and subscribe, because I'll be posting more bomb content.